So Kenny, as I mentioned, is a independent paranormal investigator, but he's a skeptic guy. However, he's a friendly dude, and he's friends with a lot of the local ghost hunting groups. So when the local ghost hunting groups go out to do what they believe is, investigating a ghost, he goes with them, they hang out, and he brings the science aspect to it. I did a podcast episode, about maybe 6 months or a year ago. Kenny, you got to turn your camera on, buddy.
I'm getting
it. There he is.
There's Jim.
Anyway, I did a podcast episode about six months ago or so about what was it? Like a science-based ghost hunting toolkit. What would a science-based ghost hunting toolkit be? Not the old infrared cameras and infrared thermometers of the old days, but how would you do it today? And Kenny was one of my sources that I went to because he actually does this. Now, I brought with me a number of photographs that I wanted to talk to you about. One of them was a picture of your office. I see that picture is unnecessary. So give us the quick tour, would you?
Yeah, sure. Well, let's see. There's the library part of it. Let's see.
Incredible.
We'll spin around this way. And we have a shelf of Star Wars. We have a shelf of Superman. And then, of course, this is my whole layout here where I work. My whole studio, if you will.
That's incredible. What is that? Is that a big mixing board in front of you? I couldn't quite see.
Or just the one I have here, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right there.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow, pretty wild.
Yeah, I had to actually switch to my laptop because for some reason Skype kept closing. It just on my desktop it was just shutting off every 5 minutes, and as soon as you guys called me, it just shut off. It just went away. So.
Oh well. Well, we're starved for bandwidth here, so shut everything down that you don't need. Oh, look at that! Hey! Thank you so much, sir. Well, let's see the shirt. Scooby-Doo. Hey, all right. And let's see the tattoo, the Scooby-Doo tattoo. There they are. Folks, this is a man who's serious about his business.
That's right.
So, can we bring up photograph, let's see, 26 with Mick. And this is, I think, the first time you and I actually met. This was at SciCon last year, maybe the year before. That's me and you, obviously, and that's Mick West of Metabunk.
That is, that's definitely last year. That's not the first time we met, though.
Wait, it's not?
It's not.
Oh, no, the year before, I was talking to you about that Microsoft Connect thing.
Yes, it was. I think it was actually 2 years ago.
That we did that.
I was
that.
talking to Joe Nickel. I was actually talking to Joe Nickel, and you walked up, and I was all excited because I've been listening to you for years, and actually, it was my first SciCon. It was my first science conference. So we're talking. This is coming up. This is my fourth one. So 4 years ago.
Wow.
When we first met.
Wow.
And you came up and walked up, and I started to walk away because I figured you were going to talk to Joe. And you're like, no, I want to talk to you. You're Kenny, right? And I was like, holy crap.
That's right. I had been given a specific recommendation to talk to you. So let me tell about what was going on from my end.
Sure.
I might not remember enough. I might just have to turn the whole thing over to you. But I had heard that there was a new ghost hunting tool called, what were they calling it, that thing?
They call it an SLS, which stands for Structured Light
Sensor. And a structured light sensor is a real thing, but this is not really a good example of it. I guess it kind of is one, but it's like the most familiar example of a structured light sensor is your iPhone that does Face ID. So what it's doing when you pick it up is it's shining a pattern of a bunch of tiny little dots in infrared so that it's not visible near infrared. And then its camera reads those dots and it is able to detect the contours of the surface. So that's a structured light sensor. And yet the ghost hunters were using something, but when the videos that I was seeing of what this device output was the figure of a stick figure humanoid character in the corner of a dark room. And it was saying it has detected a ghost, and there's the ghost. It has superimposed a stick figure drawing of the ghost. So I had no idea what was going on, and I forget who I talked to, but they said, you got to talk to Kenny Biddle. So that is exactly when I came up and interrupted you and Joe to grab you aside. So can you explain to us what was going on with that thing?
What they were doing is taking the Xbox Kinect, which is a game controller. It's what, I mean, most of the gamers that play video games, they know what it is. You get up, you dance, you use your body as a controller. And what they were doing is, because it uses infrared light, because ghost hunters, I mean, I love most of the people that I hang out with, but ghost hunters love their freaking gadgets. They just love them to death. You know, if it blinks or make noises or lights up, they love it. So this thing, it sends out, if you...
Oh, buffering.
Or 5,662. Is it all right?
I think so.
Okay. So basically, it sends out a grid pattern of infrared light, and it reads it. But it reads the entire room, so it knows where all the furniture is, it knows where people are, and you're supposed to keep it stationary. You know, like, not move it around, because when a person walks into the scene, it becomes a player. And you're supposed to keep, I think it's like a 12 by 12 area that is supposed to be clear, like nothing is supposed to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
But the ghost hunters love to move around. They stick this Kinect onto a handle and they walk around all these buildings with all this furniture, and it just picks up things, and it's messing it up. The camera's guessing pretty much and says, oh, this chair looks like a person, so therefore I'm going to put a stick figure on it. And this pole or this trash bag, or, I mean, there was dozens of things I had videos of my backpack. I had stuffed animals. I had pretty much anything. Archways, an archway between rooms, and it was seeing it and saying, oh, that looks like a figure, and put a stick figure on it. So almost anything could be a ghost, according to this device.
And the idea is, because it's a game controller, it's looking for a person who's trying to, dance in the dancing game. So it's always going to impose a humanoid stick figure over whatever it sees that fits that human closest, even if it's not really remotely a good match. Is that what's going on? So that's why this thing is guaranteed to always see a ghost in every room.
Yeah, Microsoft did a pretty good job with it, with growing a database of figures, all kinds of shapes, like tall, short, big, skinny, little kids to full-grown adults. I mean, there's all kinds of figures in there. So anything that looks like a person, and you have to remember that most of the popular games are about dancing. So when you're dancing, you're spinning around, and it loses sight of your arm or your other leg. So it has to make guesses. It makes educated guesses of where your arm is when it's behind you. So that's what it's also doing. It's seeing a chair or a bag or even like the side of a sofa and saying, oh, you know what? It looks like a person. Maybe their arm's behind them because that's the way they're standing. Let's assign a stick figure. And there you have it.
Okay. So do the people using these, and the first time I saw one was on one of the current ghost hunting TV shows, which for some reason I subjected myself to and watched.
Why?
And it's one of these things, I think, where they're trying to look like they're in the FBI, so they're in the van with the TV screens and everything. And someone said, we got to get in there with the SLS. And I'm going, SLS? This is something I'd never heard of. And that's what kind of launched me on this. But are the people using these, are they aware that it's simply a game controller and that it's looking to draw a stick figure on a person? Or do they think that it's actually some sort of specialized ghost detector? What do you have any sense of what they think?
It really depends on who you talk to. Some of them do believe that they are... some of them do know that they're playing with a toy. They really do. And then others genuinely think that they bought this very expensive, specialized piece of equipment. And because they spend I mean, sometimes it's $500-$600 that they're spending on this, and you get this cheap tablet, the Kinect sensor, and a handle, and you'll walk around with it. So they're spending a lot of money, and they think it's geared specifically towards them, which it's not geared toward them. It's marketed towards them.
Do they? Is there a name for it that it's marketed under?
Just the structured light sensor. When they call it an SLS, that's kind of like their ghost hunting name for it.
Okay.
Instead of calling it a Kinect. And then often I've seen where they actually take the guts out of the original Kinect, and they put it in a 3D printed new case.
Hey,
and
Kenny.
That way it looks different. Yeah.
Kenny, let me stop you for a second. Can you turn your camera off and then back on, please?
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can do this.
My gosh, they've killed Kenny. I love how he's got the ghost on his shelf there. It looks like it's about to attack him. It looks like it's on a printer.
Yeah.
Look at all the stuff in that room. My gosh. He's got all the Star Wars stuff up there. He's got Han Solo and Carbonite. He's got the Boba Fett. He's got R2. At least 2 TIE fighters that I see. An AT-AT. Whatever that new R2 is that rolls around like a ball that I think is really stupid.
Something. BB-8.
If you say so. This is pretty incredible. The glamour of doing live streams. Hey, there we go. Okay, so we've got there. You're back. Yay! Welcome back, Kenny.
I don't know this Skype, man. They're screwing with me today.
So last we left it at you said that it's sold as the SLS, which is when. Is there a company that sells this, like intentionally as a ghost device, or is it just something? I mean, they don't go to Amazon and search for a Microsoft Kinect, or do they?
You can. I mean, you can do it because you can get the Kinect, the older version of Kinect, and then there's an adapter that you buy for $50, about $50, and anyone can plug it in because the software is free. It's open source from Microsoft, so you can download it right from Microsoft for free. You don't need anything. But there is a company. There's a company. It's a ghost hunting store called Digital Dowsing that sells it, and they repackage the whole thing. So they 3D print a new box for it. Okay. They take the open source software and then put their own banner around it. It's the same software, but they just wrap it in a banner, so when it comes up on screen, it looks like their own.
Okay. Yeah,
but it's the same
this
thing.
Is the one I've seen. Yeah.
I literally went to a flea market. I bought a Kinect for like $3, and then I bought the adapter, plugged it into my laptop. Boom! I got the same setup as they do.
But you don't have their fancy label around it, do you?
Well, no, because I'm not, no frills kind of guy. I'm not fancy.
Yeah.
You know.
That was my first thought when I saw your office, that you're a no frills guy.
Well, okay, except for this stuff.
Okay, so next question for you is kind of all week long you were teasing on Facebook that you were going on a super spooky secret investigation mission or something. And I did not see what that turned out to be. Was it something awesome, or was it not?
It turns out last Saturday, there's I don't know if it's an actual real, like a nationally recognized holiday yet, but it's National Ghost Hunting Day. And
I hope that's not a national recognized holiday, but it wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Well, I like to tag along. I have a real good relationship with most of the ghost hunting teams and paranormal teams in the area.
Right.
So we get along really good. We have fun. And I wanted to do something, and an opportunity came up where there is a museum, and it's in West Virginia. It's in Moundsville, West Virginia, and it's called Archive of the Afterlife. And I went out there. The owner of the place pretty much gave me the run of it. He said we could stay there all night, we could have fun, he would take out certain items. He collects a lot of items from like the penitentiary, West Virginia Penitentiary, some mental asylums or like weird asylums, stuff like that. And there's a lot of claims of haunted objects. And I really wanted to go out and check it out. And one of the good things is that I'm not when I do write or investigate these things and I do write it up, I'm not what's a family-friendly way to say it? I'm not really mean. I'm not a big meanie.
Right.
So I get along and I get these opportunities. I mean, it's a guy that his name is Steve. He believes in the paranormal. He believes in ghosts. He runs this museum. He thinks that a lot of the stuff is haunted. Yet he happily allowed two skeptics actually, my buddy Tim Vickers, to come in there and essentially pick apart all the claims and all the history.
That's pretty generous. Was this a place that would be like a good place to spend the night, looking for creepy adventures?
It was not really spend the night, because we weren't looking not for ghosts per se, but he had some objects that he claimed were cursed or haunted, and it was actually fun because there was one in particular. I'll try to get through the story real quick, but it's a book, a Dr. Seuss book called The Foot Book, and he has it, and it looks like there's blood on the cover. And so the story is that he got it from a woman went to a flea market, picked it up at a house, took it home, started feeling like she was being watched, and maybe heard like a baby crying. She freaked out. She called a ghost hunter who came out and somehow determined that it was this book that was the cause of it. So he grabbed it, researched it, found out that there were murders, a quadruple murder that took place at the house where this book was from, and therefore determined that this was the haunting and then donated it to a museum.
Because I know that if I was the haunting of a quadruple murder, I would choose to embed my consciousness, my spirit in the Dr. Seuss The Foot Book.
I know.
Clearly.
But one of the interesting things was that we were allowed to test the substance that was on the cover. To see, we had a simple test. Oh. It wasn't a conclusive test, but he allowed us to test it to see if it was blood. And it was a simple test with hydrogen peroxide to see if it bubbles up. The test was inconclusive, most likely because it's probably dirt or food and not blood. But one of the big things for me, a person that loves to solve mysteries, is that we looked into the murders and found out that the names of the people that were murdered was different from a name that was inscribed in the book. And the name that was inscribed in the book, I can't reveal because the guy doesn't want his name out there, but it was inscribed in 1999. So this is 20 years ago, and we spent maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I actually found the guy. I found the guy that owned this book 20 years ago, just through Facebook, of all things, Facebook.
And did he happen to remember spilling tomato soup on the book?
No, unfortunately no. But we did talk to him, and I have his phone number now, and found out that the book was in his house, and he lived next door to the house that had the murders. So the book actually didn't come from the murder house. But it was his book. He remembers it, and then apparently his father is the one that had the yard sale and sold the book. So the history's kind of there, but it's a little messed up, a little mistakes here and there. But it was interesting actually being able to find the owner of a book from 20 years ago and talk to him and figure out, okay, it didn't come from this haunted house or allegedly haunted house or a house that had murders in it.
You know what I love about that is that it's solving a mystery that is as probably difficult to solve and has all the same elements as any famous mystery that I might do on the podcast or something like that. And this mystery you're talking about is something that nobody will ever know about, nobody will ever care about. But you came to the solution anyway, and following all the same processes, and it's just as fun and just as rewarding when you get to the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this will be something I write up. I mean, you pretty much consider you got an exclusive here.
Okay. Yay!
But I'm going to write it up with a few other things that we were looking into. and then probably publish it on Skeptical Inquirer in a few weeks or something when I get to it, because I have like a ton of projects that I'm working on at the same time.
All right, so now I have to ask you the question that you get asked most often. So often, in fact, that you have a prepared answer for it.
I have boxer briefs. Right? That's what you're going to ask me, right?
Damn it, you're psychic too. So in all of these investigations that you go on, and I'm speaking specifically the ones when you go out with ghost hunters who think that they're going out to investigate an actual haunting somewhere, have you ever had something happen that freaked you out, or that you thought, wow, that is weird, that didn't have an immediate explanation?
Well, yeah, there's definitely been a few times. I'm not going to... There's been a few times when I've said, oh, that's weird, and I haven't been able to explain it because I haven't had enough information. So as the investigation progressed, or maybe I came back a few days or a few weeks later, I was able to figure it out. Was there anything that I would freak out, like run away, going, dude, run? No. No, that doesn't happen. Usually if something weird happens, I walk towards it because I want to find out, what's going on, what happened. I want to be the first on scene before anyone else gets to walk around and maybe push things out of the way or disturb the scene. I want to be able to see everything for myself and collect the data that I need to figure out what's going on.
And of course, eventually you want to be the one to pull the mask off of the gardener and reveal his true identity.
Absolutely. We got Scooby-Doo all the way.
All right, I think we got time for one more good story. So give us one of your better stories.
Oh, one of my better stories. Oh my goodness, I wasn't prepared.
You've got all the lame stories right at the tip of your fingers, right? But
let's see. I did. I like taking gadgets apart, and then that usually causes the most drama in my little niche of ghost hunters and paranormal investigators.
Okay.
And it's actually it's a good and bad thing. Bad thing comes because usually the person that makes the equipment gets really, really pissed off at me. But on the other side, the good part is that not only are the skeptical-minded people appreciative of what I did, but a good majority of the ghost hunters actually are happy about what I did, that I took something apart, that I explained exactly how it worked to them. And I get emails like the one I get. I'll show you. This is a ghost hunting device, and it works off of static electricity.
Are those hot glue sticks?
These are actually acrylic sticks, so they're actually pretty rigid.
Okay. What is this thing?
This piece of crap is, I'm sorry, the guy that made this really, really got on my nerves. But it's a static detector. That's pretty much it. If there's static electricity, it lights up the rods, different colors. I messed it up pretty good. I don't think it's going to work too good because I actually cut it open because I wanted to see the inside and how it worked.
So until you cut it in half, it was a wonderfully highly tuned piece of electrical equipment.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, it still works. Like the light there goes on, and then when there's static electricity around, these rods will light up in different, pretty much random sequences. But this is sold as a ghost detector, and it's. I mean, this is like $140 piece of equipment with maybe $15 worth of parts altogether inside of it. And I cut this one open, and I did a whole bunch of testing. I did testing exactly how they told you to do it on their website. Nothing. When I opened it up, I actually had a friend of mine, Jonathan Vanover, who's a computer, he's a doctor of computer science. I sent him all the serial numbers of the parts inside and said, what does it do? And he was able to explain it within 2 minutes. He's like, it's really simple. I can build one for you. He actually did. He built me this one. So it's much better.
No, it is much better.
And that's the inside. That's pretty much all that's inside the other one.
So it actually is detecting static electricity? So
yes.
You have to put it on something that has a static charge, or?
Yes. I mean, if you come near it, like if it's a nice cold day, and you have like a sweater on, I can make this go off. If I put it on the floor, on the carpet down in my living room, and when my dog walked by, it went off.
Really?
And, just to make sure it wasn't a ghost walking by at the same time, I had the dog walk by a few times, and every time she walked by, it went off, just from the static.
That's actually kind of cool. I wasn't aware that was there was such a device as that. I'm not sure that it proves the existence of ghosts. It might prove the existence of dogs.
No.
Wow. We had a thing once where there was have you heard of clean electricity versus dirty electricity? This is the kind of thing. People who are trying to sell nonsense devices, they tell people, "Oh, you've got electronic equipment in your house. Your electricity is dirty. It's going to give you cancer." And so they sell a device that you just plug into an electrical socket, and it'll fix it'll bless the electricity in your house or something and turn it into clean electricity. And so some guy opened this up. All it was about a 1-inch square box. It just looked like a cube you'd charge your iPhone with. You just plug it into the socket. Didn't have any ports on it or anything, just a solid plastic box. And he just cut it open and found that it was simply filled with cement to make it heavy. It was just a pair of electrical contacts to go into the wall socket and cement in a plastic box. And it sold for $99. So this is something that we found in our Skeptics in the Pub group in Orange County. And some guy actually bought one and brought it in for $99.
It's really a shame that so much of this stuff, it's marketed to a specific group of people, and the price tag is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And once you take it apart and realize it's like this thing is really look, it fell apart. It's cheaply made. It's 3D printed. It looks horrible inside, and it's not worth $140. It's not worth $40, but people are paying it because they have this belief, this really strong belief that if it lights up, and when you're in this haunted location, then it must be a ghost. And what's the harm? Yes, you waste your money.
That's exactly the right there. Interesting. I mean, you wonder that if these people didn't have these particular products available to them to buy, would they be simply buying something else? And I mean, it's kind of hard to draw the line between what's ethical and what's not ethical. If you're selling something to someone who is going to buy a piece of worthless junk, I don't know. I don't want to paint myself into a corner and start defending the sales of these things, but it's just such a muddy area.
At least the thing that we can do, and what I try to do, is just explain it to them. Say, look, this is it. You don't have the time or the money to waste on this. If they want to spend $150 or $200 on something, fine. I don't spend that money on this. This was donated to me. Most of the equipment that I get to take apart is donated. So, and the people that donate it understand that, yes, I am going to take a hacksaw to it and cut it open. I'm going to take it apart because I want to know what's inside, and I'm going to let everyone know exactly how this thing works so they understand it better. And I think as long as we give the audience, our people that read it, a better understanding of what they're paying into, they might think twice next time. They might say, I'm not going to spend that $150. I'm going to maybe I'll go get a book. I'll go get a science book, and I'll learn a little bit more, and I'll put my money to good use. So that's what we can do.
Well, on that note, I'm going to give you a round of applause, because I think you're doing the right thing. Get a whole room a round of applause there. Thank you very much. Well, that brings us to the end of our time slot. So it's been great talking to you, and I guess we're going to see you at PsyCon in a couple of weeks.
Yes, I have a workshop on Thursday.
I'm unfortunately missing that because we're doing the screening for Science Friction. We're still going to be working down to the wire on that. But
I'll be there too.
see you there on Sunday. Yeah. All right, man. It's been great talking to you. We will check in again soon. All right. See ya.
Take it easy.
Bye.